Why niggas like to shine? Why is that niggas like to shine? You know, and why niggas like it fat? Not F-A-T, but P-H-A-T. This study right here, 26 Torah portion, known as Shmini, right? Shmini. This is a part of that teaching right there. We'll get into more on the strange fire, right? The strange fire of Nadab and Abihu or Abihu, right? But before we touch on that, let's continue to touch on this. Do a short vid right here, and we want to ask the question, you know, why niggas like to shine? Because it has a lot to do with us being Hebrew, right? With us being Hebrews. When you study the Hebrew, you come across a lot of interesting things, right? And when you see how words are related to other words, and it doesn't make a lot of sense from a Western Gentile state of mind, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like in this Torah portion right here, and it came to pass on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron or Haaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. Right now, the third word, right? The third word, or how do they call it again? They call it the third. It's the third word. Shmini is the third word, but it's the first distinctive, right? The first distinctive word, right? So we go right here to this Torah portion. Is Leviticus chapter 9. It's where the priests are being consecrated, right? Is where the priests actually begin their ministry, right? The priests of Israel begin their ministry right here. Now, in Leviticus chapter 9, verse 1, let's see if we can scroll this up. This machine, we want to restart it. But why niggas like to shine? It has everything to do with who we are, and it also explains this, what we call Hebraicism. Right? I want to do a vid that touched on, but I want to assemble some of the evidence, you know, so that, you know, we have enough evidence, more than enough evidence, because there's more than enough evidence there. But this is another, I think, an important bit of evidence right here in this particular Torah portion. Let's bring it up like that. And here we go right here. And it came to pass, right? It came to pass on the 8th day. Okay, we're going to have to restart this right here because this thing is jumping all over. Okay, here, let's see if we go right here. This is the main part right here. Vayehi beyom ha-shemona. Now, if you've seen the first part, we kind of went into this, right, in some detail. We went through this word right here on the 8th day. What we was able to break down concerning this 8th day is this particular word right here, right? Shmini, right? And from Shmini, right? Shmini, which means 8, we went to, it's from this right here. It's from the 8083. So this is 8066. It says from the 8083. We go right here to Shemona, right? Shemona and Shemona, right? The male and the female forms respectively. Then we see this, it says it's a cardinal number, and the cardinal number is 8, right? The cardinal number is 8, right? The ordinal number is 8. Let me just do this right here and put this power connection there. Okay, so it doesn't go out suddenly. We lose this, like we've lost a couple of them, you know, but the word is still the word. Okay, so the cardinal number is 8, right? Shemona, female, Shemone, like modeh, modeh-ani. Okay. So the cardinal number 8, as if a surplus. I thought this was very interesting that in the Hebrew, in the Hebraicism, and I compare the Hebraicism with, black people's slang or black people's approach to language and communication, the spirit that's even among the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So I began off saying, why niggas like to shine? Why they like to keep it fat? I mean, both of these kind of can be answered by just studying this one Hebrew word right here. And if you think about it from a Western Gentile sense of mind, a so-called European sense, it doesn't make any sense, the connection of these two. So this also proves that the Hebrews, right, that the Hebrews are really black people. right? So when we're talking about the Hebrews, right? We're talking about the Hebrews that we're speaking about, basically black people, right? But let's go on. And this is proof in another way. You know, people expect you to give a bunch of pictures and some of those things, we've already done that. But now we're getting a little bit deeper into the language, right? We know that niggers, black people, so-called, we express, especially in this hemisphere, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, but basically niggers in the American Caribbean, we express ourselves in a very unique way. Even a way that other people don't understand, but they begin to get the spirit of it. And they begin, I feel it. Right? You know what I mean? I'll keep it jiggy. You know, keep that, that's fat. Yeah, man, I'm shining. I'm bling, bling, blinging. But then the Hebrew actually explains, when we study the Hebrew, it explains that the Hebrew thought in these very same ways too. So now when we look at the number 8, 8 is a surplus. So the idea of 8 already means, in a sense, surplus, because it's beyond the perfect 7. Now the number 7 is Sheba, right, in the Hebrew. So that's number 7, like the Queen of Sheba, the Queen of 7, perfect. Overstand? Now beyond that, when we come to the 8th, this is surplus. Now we're always touching the ordinal number right there, but now look at this right down here. They say this is apparently, because they're looking at it. Remember, it was Gentiles studying Hebrew, that basically the Strong's Concordance and everything. We're looking over this now, but comparing it with the Ethiopic, because we know I roots and culture. So now getting to the roots, apparently from the H8082 through the idea of plumpness. So wait. So the number 8 is above the perfect number 7, right? And this means surplus. And they say apparently it's from another Hebrew word, the H8082. So let's go to the H8082, right? Then we have this word right here, the Hebrew Charmaine. Charmaine almost sounds like it sound like a name, right? Somebody might hear this video. I'm gonna name my child Charmaine, right? But Charmaine, like Charmaine, Charmaine, it's the H8082. Now notice this right here, greasy. Now remember the words, we come from the 8 and we're going through this, right? Greasy in this idea of gross, but not gross in the, that's gross. But it means, greasy, because look at the flip side of it. Figuratively, it means rich. That nigga greasy, man. But I'm rich. Watch your mouth, right? So, but they said, we're not done yet. It's from the 8080, right? Now I noticed this too. We're in the 8, right? Remember, Shmini means 8, right? The Yom HaShmini, the 8th day, right? On the 8th day. But now we have this from the 8080, which is shaman, or shaman, right? Which means to shine. That's what we're getting, why niggas like to shine. But now notice the whole sense of this has to do with the shemen. Shemen is the oil. Right? I remember growing up, man, if I was a little dry or ashy as a child, my mama had to put the oil or lotion on. If our lips are dry, we don't feel, so you carry a little Vaseline. You see what I'm saying? And even now, if the booty shakers and everybody putting the mineral oil on the body, so you know what I'm saying? You might be a little embarrassed, but why do we do these things? Right? From what spirit? Right? See, we don't even know ourselves, our history, our language, our culture, that we're the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But when we study the scripture and we start to even get into the linguistics of it, you say, this is like the fossilized remains. It's like finding hip hop, so-called, right? 1,000 years, and they find buried hip hop monuments and stuff, and they start to break it down and try to figure, who was this people? Right? Don't you think that if there's any N-words or there's black people today, there'll be some resonance to this, like some likeness to this in the way we use language? How do we use language? So greasy and rich have a commonality in the way of thinking of Hebrews. Who else is like that today? Now notice King James Version translates this as fat. Now I already touched on this a little bit. It's not the F-A-T, but the P-H-A-T, right? The P-H-A-T, fat, right? Lusty, plenteous. But notice this is mainly in a good sense, or in a sense of you're rich. That's why I said figuratively to be greasy. Now I didn't say to be greasy, but the idea of, let's get to the root. Let's get to the roots. right? Boom. There we go right there. H8080. Shaman, right? Shaman, right? Shaman means to shine. By analogy, right? By analogy is to be causatively to make oily or gross, right? Oily or gross. Now, niggas like oil. I don't know what it is. We like oil. We don't like ashy skin. We like to shine. Maybe it's the melanin. You know, we put some oil on the skin, that anointing. You know, we anoint ourselves with oil. You understand? We don't, you know, we even have a joke when somebody's ashy. That nigga ashy. His lips all chapped. Right? That's a joke. That's something like say, he is not rich. He's not blessed. But it's not talking about like he's on the Forbes 500 list or any of that Gentile. It's nothing in the Gentile way of thinking. This is why it's so difficult for them to understand our way of thinking as Hebrews, both even now, as well as in their own Bible studies. But I notice this right here. Shaman here means to become, to make, or to wax fat. That always was curious to me when I would read the Bible and it says, and they shall be fat and flourishing. And, you know, you hear people saying, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm, you know, and they get all anorexic, you know, and it's not saying that everybody has to be. It's not physically fat in that sense. You know what I'm saying? It's not always saying that somebody has to be physically fat, but there's a different approach to reality when we look at the Hebrew that only matches the spirit, right? Even amongst us as lost sheep, this is still our spirit. You know what I'm saying? To become fat, to wax fat. We use this even analogously. How do we use analogous? If you want to overstand analogously, we use it in the sense, yo, that's fat. Yo, that's shining. Yo, he was shining, you know, or it's blinging, you know, cause bling is another word to shine. You know what I'm saying? So we even use this sense of the word in an analogy and it all goes together, right? Where does the word shine and oily and to make fat all go together except when niggas feel this and say this or that? So even a study of the Hebrew, right? Even a basic study of the Hebrew and Hebrew words and the, you know, when we're studying language, we're studying the spirit and the mind of a people. And this is why, you know, the full half of the story really has not been told, right? This is why we got so many maybe counterfeit religions and everything coming out the Bible, because most of these are Gentile minded people. So they're looking at certain things in a translation, and a translator might have been limited in his or her, but mainly his, in the resources. Plus the translator is coming from a different spirit, a Gentile state of mind, right? And coming from a Gentile state of mind, you have to think about this. Fat did not mean to be obese and out of shape and addicted to GMO McDonald's and GMO Burger King or anything. It didn't mean that. Right? It doesn't even mean that among us when we say something's fat. I could say, yo, she's fat, right? Oh, yo, she's fat. Yo, she shine. You know, I can use that term and she don't have to be even really heavy set. If you overstand what I'm saying. And now others are beginning to get the spirit a little bit. We think, we don't know, but they're beginning to use these terminologies too. Like I say, fat in the Hebrew sense is PHAT. It's not FAT. You have to look at the context of how it is used, right? And the context of how it is used in the Bible and in the scriptures only match the spirit, right, of the lost sheep today. I mean, in a sense, we are still expressing ourselves as we expressed ourselves then. The problem is that niggas don't know themselves. Or they might not want to know themselves. You see what I'm saying? And I'm sure that others do know, you know, and until we recognize who we be, then we're not going to be able to better in our reality, right? But so anyway, keep it fat. Keep it fat. Make the truth shine. This is Wyndham Yadon. Shalom.